Hi, y'all. This is Tracy. I am so excited. We are going live right now as a part of a series called The Living Powerfully Experience. That's right. It's part of the Better Together Empowerment series. And what I can tell you is if you're ready to change your life, we got you. If you're ready to think differently about projects or things that you've wanted to complete and perhaps you've started but not quite gotten there, join us. This Living Powerfully experience includes multiple series. This first series that we're focused on as a part of Mindset Mondays and Thoughtful Thursdays is called Scale Up Your Business and Your Life. Now, we called it Scale Up Your Business because initially this started as a lead in, as a preparation, as training for the National Black MBA Association's Scale Up Pitch Competition. So one of the things we're focused on with the Seattle chapter of the National Black MBA Association is entrepreneurship. Now, the organization was founded over 52 years ago, focused on the principles of economic and intellectual empowerment. And what really gets me excited is that we get to now think differently about everything. So when you think about being empowered, at one point it was about get a job, go into an organization. That's still important. But what we're also focusing on this year as a part of the Seattle chapter of the National Black MBA Association is entrepreneurship. That's a key part of our national organization as well. When you go to our national conference, which is always in September, it is the largest professional conference in the country. We have something called a Leadership Institute. We also have an Entrepreneurial Institute. So this is important. Entrepreneurship is important. Business is important. But living powerfully, no matter whether you're working for someone else or working for yourself, that is something we're also going to invest in. So this living powerfully experience is half or partial. I don't know if I'll put a percentage on it, but it's going to be about 50% mindset training. And the other part of it will be business training. So Scale Up Your Business and Your Life will be really a 6-session series starting today. And it's going to allow us to really focus on how we think about ourselves, how we limit ourselves sometimes with our own beliefs. And today is really just an introduction. I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the people that will be joining us in the future. I'll talk a little bit about what this pitch competition could look like. But we're also bringing forward some other opportunities. I'm also part of an organization that's called the Black Collective, the Tacoma Pierce County Black Collective. I'm the co-chair for the Economic Development Committee. That organization is leading some work that allows our community to tap into $200 million, a $200 million community reinvestment fund. That's another type of project that requires you to think differently about what's possible in your life, what's possible for your family. And so we're going to create a space on these Mindset Mondays and Thoughtful Thursdays. We're going to create a space, and this is timeless information, right? But the space is really for us to be able to think about things differently, to activate differently, and to really move forward in a way that allows us to drive true change. So let me just tell you a little bit about who I am. I always forget my intro. So my name is Dr. Tracy Harrell. I am president of It's All Bigger Than Me Consulting. I'm also affiliated with the National Black MBA Association Seattle chapter. I'm the past president. I'm excited that we have a new president, Dr. James Carter, who is amazing. And he is helping me to lead a series called the Better Together Empowerment Series. That means when you're accomplishing a goal, you're not alone. That's the beauty of this. So the first half of this, I'm going to be talking about mindset. I'm going to tell you a little bit about what you can expect in the series. And then we're going to make sure you have the information to join us for the future sessions. So each week we're going to bring forward topics and experts and individuals, real people. If you're watching this online and you want to bring your voice forward, or you've heard something that excited you, that you know you're going to leverage in your life, we're going to ask you to put some information in the chat. We'll have our producer slip you the information so you can actually join us on camera. I am going to be bringing on the second half of this show. And we're going to make this a little shorter, abbreviated version today. I'm going to be bringing on Miss Michaela Grant and her beautiful daughter, Alicia Grant, here in about 10 minutes. But first, I want to make sure you all understand what you're going to be in store for on Thursday. This is Mindset Monday and Thoughtful Thursday. Mindset Monday today is a holiday, and I do want to recognize, Memorial Day, right? It's important that we pause and reflect on those that came before us. I call this timeless in the sense that it doesn't matter when you watch this. The information that we want you to take away from the Living Powerfully series, from the Living Powerfully experience, is things that you can apply to anything at any time. I'm excited about that. So I've interviewed thousands of people in large groups, in small focus groups, one-on-one, etc. And what I know for a fact is whether you're a professional in the corporate space, an executive in the corporate space. I'm an executive coach. I'm a mindset coach. I'm a diversity, equity, and inclusion trainer. My company, It's All Bigger Than Me, is It's All Bigger Than Me consulting, coaching, training, and transformations. I know it's a lot, right? It's actually all the same thing. It's actually about how do you change your life? How do you live powerfully, right? Sometimes you need a consultant to come in and do some work for you. A coach is an opportunity, a transformational coach for sure, is an opportunity to help you really look at what beliefs. What do you believe? So if you think about your beliefs, right, there's something called the 5 primary drivers. Your beliefs dictate everything. So when you're trying to live powerfully, you need to think about like patterns that show up in your life that may not be aligned with what you want, what you hope to have happen. And we all have had that happen, right? You have a New Year's resolution, you're going to work out every day, right? You decided I'm going to go and start that business, or I'm going to get that degree. I'm going to be nicer to my children. I'm going to be nicer to my in-laws, right? Whatever it is, there's some reason why you may not be showing up, why your actions may not be aligned with that thing that you say you want to do. And it's because of your beliefs. So the 5 primary drivers says what you believe, right? It dictates your thoughts. Your thoughts dictate your emotions, how you feel. Truly, how you feel is what dictates your actions. And as we know, your actions dictate your results. So the 5 primary drivers says it actually all starts at the roots. The roots are your beliefs. So as a part of this process, as a part of living powerfully, we're not just going to go tell you what to do, right? That's nice. It's important to have a plan, right? Plan the work and work the plan. But you can have a plan all day. You can even have someone's success plan that worked for them. But if you don't believe, if you have limiting beliefs or things that will not basically allow you, your thoughts will not align with what you want to occur, the results you want, because you and you're at your core are not believing, right? What you need to in order to accomplish your goals. So I'm kind of shifting today just a little bit. It is a holiday, and we're going to shorten today's session. But I'm going to leave you with a little challenge. That's right. I'm going to leave you with the challenge before I go to Michaela and Alicia, who are going to talk about some mother and a daughter who I think are so beautiful. They happen to be my nieces, my niece and my grandniece. Amazing individuals. But Michaela is also a business entrepreneur. She's also a coach. And her daughter participated in the Scale Up Pitch competition last year, and she was one of the semifinalists. So we're going to bring her on to talk about what that experience was like, how she overcame her own limiting beliefs, right? And how she, now is excited about the next phase of this journey. So what I'm going to pivot a little bit on is, we are going to talk in the future about proven recipes for success. And again, as a mindset coach, as an executive coach, as a diversity, equity, and inclusion trainer, all that, I can help people to achieve a number of goals. But coaches need coaches too. So what I'm excited about is on Thursday, our next session, Thoughtful Thursdays at 3 p.m., I'm actually going to be able to bring in my coach, one of my coaches, my fitness coach, Dr. Casey Winans. She is amazing. She's incredible. But what she's going to do, and we're going to talk about, is like my transformation, and it's important to be willing to put your, for me, put your, like to call it, put your business on Front Street. Sometimes it's important to just put your vulnerable opportunities in public for the world to see in order to help others do the same. Right? So I'm going to challenge each of you to think about what might you be holding on to. What might you want to accomplish that you haven't necessarily thrived in on your own? What area in your life might you want to live powerfully? So as soon as I bring my coach on next Thursday, Miss Casey Winans, for the first time in history this year, I'm actually going to show some of my extreme vulnerabilities. Maybe. I'm still deciding how vulnerable I'm going to go. I'll probably tell you that my weight exceeded my all-time high. She's making me, part of my journey is I'm taking pictures in this little workout outfit, y'all. Rolls out, which I never do, right? Super important, though, to face the ugly. It's important to, Michela, are you smiling? Are you ready to come on? Are you? So I have someone who's ready to join me, I think. Hey, how are you?
Good afternoon, everybody.
It's good morning for us. Good afternoon for her on the East Coast.
Yes.
So Michela, we're just doing a little pivot on today's show.
Mm-hmm.
Slight pivot, right? I don't know if we're going to be bringing on Alicia at some point. Is she going to join you?
Yes, she is. She is.
Okay.
Yeah.
So for right now, we said we were going to talk mindset. And so I was just saying that I am going to, which I wasn't going to do, but sometimes I get these divine downloads and I just kind of have to follow. No matter what God says, I'm like, I'm surrendered. When you're living a surrendered life.
But that's the key to being successful. That's the key to being successful.
It's the key to living powerfully.
You have to
tapping into some divine energy.
You have to surrender to some level within yourself in order to maximize your potential. Because if you're holding on to the vision that you have for yourself to the point where you won't let a higher power come in to guide you, you could miss an opportunity and have to wait for another one. So
right. And what I'm not going to do is I'm not going to miss any opportunities. So I'm glad that she said that. And the truth is, y'all, again, sometimes right now we're just pivoting the show. I'm kind of just going with the flow because I woke up this morning and recently I found out that a friend of mine died. A lady that I hadn't actually spoken to for a while. Like the pandemic was going on. Her name is Michelle Avon. She was an executive with Merrill Lynch. And she actually was murdered.
Wow.
Domestic violence by her boyfriend, apparently, her ex, who was also a leader, apparently. I don't know the details. I haven't even read the articles. But I found out, and I was just like, first of all, feeling some kind of way like, oh, my God. That's my friend that I have not connected with. she was going to be a part of this series. She's been a part of other series and other videos and other things. So we're doing the Better Together Empowerment series, and we're doing Living Powerfully. And so I was, I met someone who knew her, and she was like, "Oh, you didn't know?" And I'm like, "No, what?" And she tells me this thing. I'm like, "What? Are you kidding me?" So she gives me the articles. Apparently, there's a whole deal. And this happened a year or two ago. Like, it's not like brand new.
Mm-hmm.
But I just found out about it. So then we have to decide, even in Living Powerfully. I got this bad news, and I actually cried because Tracy 1.0, old Tracy, would not have allowed my feelings to show up. But I was kind of choked up a little bit, and I was feeling like, oh my God, like I didn't reach out to her. Like I didn't stay connected to her. We can't stay connected with everybody we know, right? So, limiting belief. What am I going to do? Be the one to stop the murder? No. So there was nothing I could have done. But I realized if there are people that you want to connect with, the reminder is you can absolutely take the learnings from whatever situation you have now to make some connections. Does that make sense, ladies? So for me, if there's someone that a childhood friend, a coworker, just reach out to people, because none of us are promised tomorrow. When I go, I need y'all to do a compilation video of all the times I said none of us are promised tomorrow, right? And I'm leaving all of mine on the table today. I showed up today, and I'm like, hey, I'm gonna do every day. You guys know I show up, and I'm trying to help other people to my deficit in over the years.
I want to say this. Somebody asked me when my life changed, like when did I make the shift for myself in my life and my business, and just my whole perspective, right? I started living like every day was my last life.
Say it again.
I started living like every day was my last life. This is my one shot, and I got
last day in life. Not even last.
My last day. This is my last day. What would I do? What means the most? How would I get it done? How would I make an impact to these people this day on this time? And I am the last person they will ever see. Like, I literally start to embody that, and it changed my life. There's a few things that I did that just changed my life, and that was one of them. I started living every day like it was my last day.
And you're not doing it in a morbid way, like,
no,
oh, woe is me, right?
No, it wasn't a morbid way. It was
a celebration of life.
It was me embracing, but it was me embracing divine potential.
Tell me more.
It was me embracing the potential of, hey, if I could do this today, I can make a difference for this person. Or if someone meets me, who knows, I could be the pivot for them. You know what I mean? And so I became the pivot. I was like, hey, and so now I feel like with me being more, I was an introvert. With me doing that, it opened up more conversations, better connections, more interesting people, people I probably would have never even met, because I started to use myself as that springboard when people met me to teach them also how to pivot or experience life. And so, it changed for me.
I love it. Alicia, I see you smiling a little bit. What are you thinking when you hear your mother and your auntie say, we live our life like it's our last? Does that make sense at all? What are you thinking?
Yeah,
you're so cute, by the way.
I was just thinking her mom said she was an introvert. In my opinion, I feel like she was an extrovert that was kept from being an extrovert.
Say that one more time. Talk a little louder.
I feel like mom was an extrovert, but she was kind of kept from being an extrovert. So she wasn't given the opportunity to be like extroverted.
From the mouth of babes, y'all. Let me just be clear.
That's an interesting perspective. I agree.
So what you basically just said is there was something already inside of her. She was an extrovert at her core, and she just released more of the beauty and the grace and what was inside of her, letting her be all that she was meant to be. Is that what I'm hearing from you?
Yeah.
She's so cute. Yeah.
Yes.
I love it. I love it so much. So we said we were going to talk again about. I had a whole list, y'all. I have a 12-page.
I'm done. Not 12 pages.
12 phone.
We're gonna have to do some. We're gonna have to do some extra takes.
12 pages of topics we were going to talk about, but we'll bring them in on Thursday. We'll bring them in on Thursday. So what I'm going to focus on, I'm just going to tell you all a little bit about what's going to be coming up. So I have two amazing guests, Dr. Monique Jordan, who is a mindset expert, I would show you the flyer, but you could go check out the social media. It's there already. You can see their beautiful faces. And Dr. Casey Winans, and she actually is one of the Winans. She's the niece of the actual Winans. She's pretty cool. She's so humble and gracious, but she's a wellness expert. She's also a mindset coach. She does affirmations. She has an album out with all these affirmations. She's amazing. So what's exciting is her and others, right? We've invited some entrepreneurs. So this initiative was partially funded, not fully, but partially funded through the Washington State Micro Enterprise Association, which is why we're saying for entrepreneurs, it can be a lonely life. So we brought the entrepreneurs, the Black business and Black wealth, we brought those concepts into the Better Together Empowerment Series, which I'm building on this, my Living Powerfully experience. We're basically saying it's better if we do this work together. We're going to do it in a way that helps individuals, organizations, and business owners thrive in life. And Michela, you're pretty famous for saying, how important it is that we pour into ourselves, that we invest in our own peace and our well-being, because we're so used to doing and being and giving to other people. Have you talk a little bit about that.
Well, having been an entrepreneur for 15, long time. I don't want to tell my full age, but what I noticed is that through this journey, I have not practiced the art of filling my own cup up. And so what happened one day was I woke up and I was like, oh my God, I'm tired. And I love what I do. And I'm full. I'm so full in this area. It's complete satisfaction, and I think about numerology and the power of symbology. And I'm like, I'm a 9 in my journey, so I'm like, wow, I'm feeling like a 9. I know I'm a 9, but I was tired. And I was like, wow, I'm doing something wrong and something has to change. And so wait
a minute. I got to back up because I don't think people, I don't even know what a 9 is. What does that mean to you? When I hear 9, I think you mean you're a 9 out of 10.
So one day I was so my healing journey started one day. I was in my office and I had a client who was about to come, and I was in a state of active meditation where I was breathing and I was praying. And I was praying in my business, and I was like, God has given me everything that I ever asked for. I was like, God has got me here. This has been a long journey. And when I started thinking about it, I was like, oh my God, I'm a 9. I'm a 9 in completion in this. And everything that I have ever wanted was complete in that moment. And I started to kind of break down a little bit. And I was like, oh my God, like I am complete. This is done. This whole space. If I left this type of career right now, I would still be so happy because I am a 9 here, and I was, and me feeling like that, I realized that with me being a 9 and I'm feeling complete, not necessarily saying that my work was done in that space, but there's more. There's more. And I started to feel like, you know what? I'm not taking care of myself as much as I used to. I'm not doing those things that I used to. I'm not taking my walks in the park. Hey, Jonathan, you came in right on the juicy part. So I wasn't taking my walks, and I wasn't eating my extra healthy foods, and I wasn't taking my practices to pause. And I believe that, my life also changed in practicing the pause, like in conversations with myself, how I'm feeling, what I'm doing. And that when we practicing the pause, it allowed me to take better care of myself, because I had to check in with myself. Like, hey, does this feel good? No. Like it was very instant, and we rush through life saying, oh my God, we don't have time, but you do have time in your moments. You do have time to allow yourself to.
I love it. Alicia, I saw your face expression change just a little bit. When your mom said something about practicing a pause, when you're feeling some kind of way, do you ever think about practicing a pause? Because it's like that breathing. Remember what Dr. Chu told us one time about like just pause and breathe? Have you tried that ever? Does that work?
I mean, I've tried that, but it works sometimes.
I can't hear you. Got to talk a little louder, my darling.
I tried that, but it works sometimes.
Gotcha. She's tried it, but it works sometimes.
Gotcha. Jonathan, what about you? When she just mentioned, we were talking about, this idea of living powerfully, and we're shifting. I gave you a whole list of questions. We're not doing any of them today. No, I'm just joking. we're pivoting just a little bit. We were talking about like sometimes, I found out that a friend of mine had died, and it was interesting because it made me cry a little bit, partially because I, hadn't stayed connected. And I found out about it way late. And I was like, what could I have done differently? But then it also, brought me back to the, desire, which is, I think, how I live my life is surrendered, right? But it reminded me that we should live each day like it's our last, right? Because we don't know, if we live a surrendered life, then we don't know. None of us are promised the next day. All we can do is make the most of this moment. So when people talk about being grounded and using meditation and breathing, it's really just about saying, yesterday does not matter. Tomorrow is not promised, but today is yours. It is the present. It is your gift. So what would you say about the importance of living powerfully and doing that by living fully in the moment, like today is your last?
I love that concept because you don't live a life until you've had some tragedy. Just as your friend dying, that tends to focus you for a moment. And I go back to look at, it makes you really look at your whole life. Sometimes you get a dream, and in that dream, it tells you where you were, and it kind of just clarifies things. Several years ago, I've been doing work for the community for years, and I was doing work for the community. I was helping a family that had been treated badly by a school district, and the kids were just being treated horribly. And so I went and observed for a whole day in the classrooms. There were two different schools, and I went to one school and had a great tour, met the principal, met the people at the school, the teachers, just an excellent, excellent time. Went to the other school, and the aunt who was with us told me, this principal told us that you have to treat bad Black children badly. She said, look it up. It's on the internet. It's on the internet. And so I attempted to just introduce myself to that principal, and she just wouldn't have anything to do with even in being introduced to this person. I was in a business coat, had people with me. We were talking, and I thought she didn't hear me. So I shouted a little louder, oh, called her name out. And she refused to even be introduced. So last night, I had a dream. And that dream just clarified so much for me. It was just, oh, I get it now. That story that this person told had been manipulated and had been populated. And I guess the thing that triggered the dream is I went to an event on Saturday for veterans who were killed in battle, and it was called the Gold Star. It was a Gold Star event, and where families who had suffered loss. And so I was aware of that, and then my friend told me he went to talk to this principal because he worked at that school at that time. And she told a totally different story. And he says, I wish I'd told you about it then, but I realized that story had been repeated and told to other people and repeated. And I couldn't understand why I was getting such pushback from multiple locations in the school district. And then I remembered one person who knew me and knew that that was not true, continued to work with us in the education committee. So yes, I really love the idea that we have to be aware. And sometimes that awareness comes in a dream. Sometimes that awareness tells you, oh, you're fighting against this. Back up, back up. And now that you know what it is, now you have a different strategy for dealing with it. my
That's,
life
that's
has changed as a result of that, because
that's
I
so
see now.
interesting.
Go ahead.
No, please go ahead. I just love that story.
Well, there's one of many. Each of us have stories. Each of us have stories, and I have been in places to be able to engage people and find ways to do things. I heard a talk this weekend about feeling like you're an imposter syndrome. You've probably heard that in many areas. If you're trying to grow your business and you're not feeling like it's coming together, the things that you're dealing with, just like that story I'm trying to deal with, is people believe that you are not worthy. People believe that you're not a good person, because that's the culture that we live in. We live in
Right.
a culture where folks have been believing for years we are superior because we don't have any melanin in our skin. And that melanin changes you. And without melanin in your skin, you
It,
just don't have it. But you have to work
True.
to know what you know.
I
And when
think
you
Jonathan, what you're saying, and I think it's important, especially in the Black community, that we really have to pour into our children. We really have to establish life in our children and validity, and to let them know, hey, guess what? You are amazing. Like, you have the fullest potential that everybody else on the planet has. And I think that mindset, that we have this stigma, right? Like we clearly see that it's an issue,
sure.
and we want to be successful, and we want to grow, and we want to, like you said, we want to be a part of the community. We want to not feel like we're not an outliner, right? Like,
Sure.
yes,
you want
Sure.
to feel, that hug. You want to feel that warm community hug,
I
and
love it.
it's
Mm.
like, it first starts at home. You have to, and this is the power of active affirmations. This is why affirmations is so
Yes.
important. This is why affirmations need to be said every single day, especially in the home of little black children
Yes.
and people who have
Yes.
babies in your home, because you have to know that you are the best. You have to know that you have the
Yes.
potential, you are great, and you can do anything you put your mind to.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
it has to be like, I guess 2023 is my new phase. I said, I'm 10 toes down in it. I'm a
10
thousand
toes.
percent. I'm over 1,000%. I'm sold out on me,
Sure. Sure.
and I feel great.
I love that. I love
And
that.
it's something that you have to know. Like, you have to embody that for yourself to overcome the stigma that is living in society today in order to be successful. So,
That,
I agree wholeheartedly. And the thing that I think is important about that is, if you go to a party and one person starts to dance, and people look at that dance and say, "Oh, that's all right. Let me see how that goes." And they start going through it. And pretty soon, another person steps on there. And pretty soon, you got the room is hopping and everybody's doing the dance. And it's all right. All right. Yeah, we're doing.
yes,
And when that happens, you're connected. But when you go to
yes.
that party and you don't get it, you don't connect,
Mm.
and you don't feel a part of it, that's where we are for many of us in business. But we have to realize the belief that's going on. And that, to me, is so exciting. You know, at that event I went to, a woman came up to me and said something that would have triggered some. And she said, why would we spend all that money to change the names of those Confederate named military bases in the United States? And I was calm. I heard what she said. And I tried to give her a sense of how it is to be triggered. And I said, what
Mm.
would happen if your daughter had been attacked by someone? And when they had been attacked, you didn't believe her that she had been
mm,
attacked. And
Mm.
every time that circumstance was the same, she would be triggered. But you don't understand. She's being triggered because you don't believe it. But then one day the light comes on and you see it, and you do anything to keep her from going through that again. Well, what I'm saying is it's excellent that we have that vision. It's excellent that we have an idea of where we're going. It's excellent when we find what that blockage is. And it's even better when we find the strategy for dealing with it.
I love
It's
it.
Yes.
exciting when that light comes on. That's why, for me, that dream was so powerful for me, because I had been blocked for, and I didn't know why. I had been blocked for years as to why this underlying thread was there.
Mm.
But you know, Jonathan, won't God find a way though? Like, won't let's just introduce.
Yeah.
I've been in plenty of situations where I was like, I literally do not know. And like 5 years later down the line, the path opens up, and I'm just like, I just never knew. Like, that is divinity.
It
When you're on the
is.
path and being positive, and you're living your truth, and you're doing what you have to do, and you're standing up, and you're holding yourself to a standard, you will get the truth, and that is the gift, right?
It
Getting
is.
the full truth of everything. So that is very inspirational.
It is. I was
truth
looking
comes.
around for one of the books that I wrote, and it is
Can you go back?
it was called, 3 books. One was called Ignite Happiness. My second book was called Ignite Your Inner Spirit, and the third book was called Ignite Possibilities. And so one of the things that I wrote about is when the truth speaks to your heart, anything is possible. And I think that's the thing, that's the awareness that we all really need to have, is just this idea that when we decide up front, right, that everything is going to work out for our good, when we know that up front, in the moment, like you don't have to wait. Like when that, because I bet, Jonathan, when that lady didn't shake your hand, for example, in your example, you was talking to a principal. She knew you were president of the NAACP. She probably knew you were there investigating some complaint that came from her school, and she chose not to engage with you.
Yes.
If in the moment your reaction, you could have chose to react, right?
Yes.
Negatively or positively, right? If in every situation, you don't take offense. You're right. You decide that no matter what happens to me today, I'm going to walk in grace. I'm going to choose joy. I'm going to choose me. I'm going to choose helping humanity to the best of my ability. Like, I'm going to choose the positive things. I'm going to choose peace. Right.
That's
so
true.
In that moment, that is what living powerfully means. If you get nothing else out of this session and we can drop the mic, how many of us realize that we wake up in the moment with some clarity of meditation, of affirmations, of thought, of choices? That is what living powerfully, that's how it starts, people. It starts with you choosing how you're going to react no matter what happens, right? The yogi talks about being at peace in the midst of a storm, right? That is beauty. That is living powerfully. That is those choices that we make. And that was not the plan for today. But it's also about surrendering to what comes. I like to say I'm always intentional and organic. Jonathan, you said yes. What are you thinking about that concept of choosing in advance your reaction? So give people advice real quick. We're going to end a little bit shorter today. What advice would you share to someone about why it's important to choose how you're going to react? Choose joy.
I think it's important because if you look back at the greatest strategists that I think this country has known in the last 70 years or so, go back to Martin Luther King and what they did with the folks who were going into the lion's mouth. They told them not to react. They taught them how, in sessions where they taught them not to react, because the minute you react, now they can attack you and be justified. And I totally get that. Now, from my experience as a military leader, there are times when you do that and the enemy has no idea what's happening, because they knew they had you. They were going to get you in an ambush. But when we know that the Lord has put us in this situation for us to learn something, I think back of Joseph. Joseph had nothing to do with him being put into a pit. He had nothing to do with him being put into prison. He had nothing to do with then being put into the at the throne, the second highest leader in the country. But God was with him all the way. He was with him when he was in the pit. He was with him when he was in jail. And he was with him when he was the second highest leader following Pharaoh. Now, when we know we're a part of a 3-part play, it's a different role.
It's a different role, yeah.
But if we think the play is
hold on, Jonathan, hold on. When you know you're part of a 3-part play, people may not understand what you mean. I fully understand what you mean.
I did.
So, but we gotta break it down. This is Living Powerfully series. We gotta break it down. Being part of a 3-part play, break it down.
I'll break it down. The 3-part play is, as I said, God was in all 3 situations. But God has to teach us some things. And when he's teaching us something, he doesn't come up and say, here's the instruction. He says, here's the situation. How are you going to deal with it?
Yep.
And when we deal with the situation inappropriately, he'll say, okay, look at it again once you've learned more. And if we still haven't got it, he says, here, try this one more time.
Try it again.
Yep. When the light comes on for you, he says, now you've done it. Now let's take you to that next level. And then that next level, he's in prison. He's saying, my goodness, I thought I understood you, Lord. I thought I really knew where I was going. Now you're in prison. But he gives you more opportunities. And then when you are following him, I know something that you need to know. Tell the leader, I know something that you need to know. And when he read that dream and it came true, and then the guy who read the dream, he forgot him again. So he had to remember, what is he there for? He was learning patience. He was learning to really trust the Lord. He was learning to know that even though you think you're done, it's not done yet. But when he revealed to him all that he needed to know, and when his brothers were standing before him and he could have taken vengeance, that to me it took all 3 acts for him to get to that final play to save his entire family, because that was all a part of the 3, in this case, 4-part play. The 4th part, he's rescuing his family from a drought that was killing people all over. So how does that relate to us today? We have, I think each of us have multiple part plays. Each of us have things that we're going to go through. But again, if we go through that knowing God is with me, I know I trust the Lord. The Lord gives me a sense of purpose every day. Mm-hmm. And when you wake up and affirm that every day, think of the power. They can throw stuff at you all day long. You say, hey, this is just a part of the play. We know what's going on. I know what the next act looks like. I know what the next act looks like, and I know who wins.
Well, can I say something on that really quickly? Yeah. So what I got out of that is clearly the Last Supper, right? Like everybody knew that this was going to be the ending, but a new beginning, but they did not know, and they had to have that full trust, right? So you have to be in trust, and you have to be in that divine energy. The next thing I wanted to say is that when you are living in your ego, it's going to be really hard for you in your business. It's going to be really hard for you to succeed. It's going to be really hard for you to understand where to go, because your ego, first of all, your ego is edging God out. The God in you, the divinity in you has to first recognize yourself, and then you have to be able to recognize it in others. If you are living in your ego and you are not acclimating at that level, how can God get to you?
Yes.
If you're living in your ego, God ain't going to be able to get to you, because you're going to think you know more than God. But when you surrender, to what God has for you, and you step into that surrendering, it will look like humbling yourself. It will look like let me practice the pause. Let me listen. Let me
Mhm.
know it is the fourth act. Let me know that I'm in the third act. It will look like, guess what? All these acts that I went through, God was with me the whole time. He was
That's
with
it.
me the whole time. He is the pinnacle.
Mhm.
So if God is with you this whole time and you're going through these series of acts in your business, your life, your family, your friends, and all the things
Yeah.
that make you you in your moment, that is showing you have to relinquish your ego in order for God to come in to change your life and your family, your home, and your
Mhm.
business.
I love it.
Oh, so
I,
so
I,
you know
I love that.
that's old soul wisdom. I just got to say that's old soul wisdom. Thank you so much. I
Did you
told you
say
the last time
old
you
soul?
old soul, old soul. I'm reminded. I told you you said something that my mother used to say every day. She would tell me that whenever I get down, she'd tell me, "Whatever you set your mind to, you can do."
You can do
And
it.
when you reminded me of that, you have to think of those confirmations you get from people who are traveling the same path. And sometimes they're put there just to remind you. You remember what Mama said? You remember what Mama said? You know how important it was to have those people who were intentionally guiding you, not necessarily giving you the answer, but intentionally guiding you into the situation where you could learn. I want to tell you one thing as we're going. When I got ready to go overseas right after my divorce, I was going overseas without my children for the first time in my life. I felt that loss that you feel when the people you love are not going to be close to you. And I remember calling my mother and I said, "Mom, you've seen me leave on a deployment. You've heard me leave. You've seen me leave multiple times when I went away to college. And I never felt what you felt until I got ready to go overseas without my children."
Mm.
And I said, "Why didn't you tell me about that?" And she said, "You weren't ready for it."
Mm.
And that wisdom of you weren't ready for it, that's what God practices with us all the time. He doesn't give
Mm.
it to us. We're asking for it. And he said, it's not time yet. When you get it at the right time, that message becomes crystal clear. Just like this message, I will never forget that message my mother gave me that time. Had she told me years earlier, when you get ready to leave, no, that wouldn't have been it because I would have forgotten that. It wouldn't have had that poignant moment when I was in great need and she revealed the magic of the Word of God. She revealed what that difference was that made me feel it in the way it was intended. I
I love
love
that.
seeing you with your daughter there. Looking at it's like looking at a picture and a picture of the future. I
She is my
Exactly.
future.
see the
Yeah.
power of God working through you and seeing those great things that she's going to accomplish. I see that. And that's the thing. When the Lord puts you in the right place, you see that. When you see people that way, you don't see you're not doing what I told you to do. You
Right.
don't see that. I want you to do that right now. I'm aiming for grandparent magic. Grandparent magic is parent says, I can't do anything with them. Go to grandma, go to grandpa. And grandma sits down with them and they give them something to work on and they're working on it. And pretty soon, the same thing that they were resisting you, the parent, doing, they're doing it joyfully.
For the grandparents, yeah.
For the grandparent, yes, for
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
grandparent.
This is
And
Yeah.
true.
then when you see it, you could feel a little something, but the thing you should feel is when we first have our children, we are in a phase of learning that is so fast that we don't have a clue of what we're doing. And I would straight up, I didn't have a clue. I didn't have a clue. And I was living my life as fast as I could. And learning to know what the children needed to know, even though I thought I was putting it up front.
Right.
Didn't know. But the grandparents been there.
Yeah.
They've been on that road. They know what it looks like.
Yeah.
And they know how to reach that spirit in that grandchild through love.
Yes.
I think we have a lot of grandparent magic out there.
I love it. So guys, two things are happening. I love this. Again, we pivoted today's conversation. I think I mentioned that today is Memorial Day. I wanted to give a full recognition of our veterans. My brother, who's no longer with us, was a veteran. I know, Michelle, you are a veteran, so thank you for your service. Thank you for your service. I say that I say that seriously. Memorial Day is recognizing people that are no longer with us, right? Typically military, but in general, I think there's a moment to pause and to reflect. So we kind of pivoted today's conversation from half mindset. We did definitely focus on mindset. I was going to talk about business. We got about 5 minutes left, and so I'm going to squeeze in. We may run a little bit over, but I do want to take a moment to. I hear
a slight echo.
I'm gonna have you guys mute. Jonathan, mute yourself real quick.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Can you guys hear me? Okay. I think that was you, Jonathan. I think it was your phone, maybe. Okay. So what's exciting about today is we are going to do two things. Michelle, you can unmute because I'm going to have you and Jonathan. I'm going to take you off broadcast real quick, Jonathan, just for... I don't want to remove you from the stream. Turn your camera off, Jonathan. I'll tell you when to turn it back on. How about that? So I'm going to go to the business part of the conversation with these pitch competition people.
Woo!
So we're going to pivot real quick to really focus on. And first of all, let me just say, when we talk about living powerfully, you do not have to believe in a higher power in order to live powerfully. It significantly helps. Let me just say that. You do. Let me repeat myself.
Yep.
This is not about saying you need to believe in a higher power, whatever you call that, in order to live powerfully. That happens to be my truth. I often bring people on who have similar beliefs. But the beauty of this is I also have done the scientific evidence. I've read over 1,000 books about mindset, about the science of the neuroscience of the brain, how we operate as human beings, the secret, right? All the metaphysical, like I've done the research. So let me just be clear. You get me, I'm a Libra, so you get the both. You get both sides of the equation. You get the spiritual, you also get the scientific. For a fact, when you think positively, your outcomes will be more positive. When you think negatively, when you allow those negative thoughts that come into your head to land for longer than a second, our goal in life when you're living powerfully should be to meditate on the things you want, to focus on the things you want, to visualize the things you want, to not even give the things you don't want and the negative things that happen and people's reactions and someone yelling at you or screaming at you or cutting you off in traffic or whatever the negative thing, firing you. All right. Thank you. This too will work out for my good. This is what you say. This is the belief. This too
will work out for my good.
All things work out for my good. And I was fired. It was the happiest day of my life. In the moment, I hugged the lady, swear to God, we were doing videos that day. It was like, oh my God, happiest day of my life. Because I knew, right? These are amazing people. We had agreed that this was clearly, I was going to be doing some work around diversity, equity, and inclusion. I had leaders come to me to say, this is great, but we're not ready. We're not ready.
Transparency.
I understand. That did not translate to me you need to stop what you're doing. It meant you're not ready. Right?
Pivot.
I couldn't pivot. God didn't want me to pivot.
No, I mean, you pivoted in your life and career. God pivoted you.
But and if I had walked in fear to say, oh, they don't want me to keep doing this. They said they're not ready. God said, it's bigger than me. He put me in that position to have. There was a lady here. Her name is Dr. Karen Johnson. She was the director of the Office of Equity in the state of Washington. She was fired this week by the governor. Public firing. They said you can either fire or resign or we'll fire you. She's like, hey, I'm here to do a job. So you do what you need to do. I'm going to do what I need to do. And she took the hit, right? She took the hit.
You know what? You know what I've realized that
Yes.
when you're in your transformation, because we're talking about living powerfully, when you're in your transformation, it may look like your building is burning. It may look like the house is on fire. And you're like, oh my God, go get the water. But really, God's like, listen, I need the foundation. So we're gonna have to take it back down to one. I know you may feel a little uncomfortable, but we're gonna have to just clear this out. Because see, we needed this. We needed what was underneath this. Because what you built on it wasn't working. And I've learned that in your, and I tell my daughter this, and she can tell you this, when you're in your fall, when you feel like you're in your falls, you're really in your rise. And you're going to miss it. Savor the moment.
Savor the moment. No, just know.
You're coming up like this.
Know that you are absolutely blossoming.
Yes.
Know that you're blossoming. So I said that to just kind of conclude and transition to the other phase of life. But it's really an important conversation and an important distinction when it looks like you're falling, when it looks like your house is on fire. My bank account has never been as low as it is right now. It makes me feel uncomfortable sometimes. Sometimes. you know me, your auntie. I was like, I'm overboard and extra, right? Disney all day. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm like, come on, so my dollars and for 5 years, I've been doing this faith walk, leading a nonprofit, using my own personal money, funding a nonprofit, right? We owed like $60,000 from the national organization of the National Black NBA. That's another conversation. Expecting that money to come in, funding the organization until then, hoping people are going to do the right thing. People don't always do the right thing. You got to suck it up and keep it moving, right? Sometimes you just got to suck it up and keep it moving. And that's kind of the space that I'm in. I'm grateful for every experience, because what it says to me is living powerfully is not about, just being joyful when things look good. It's about celebrating when it looks not like you had hoped it would. And
holding that energy of positivity. I said holding the energy of positivity.
Preach.
I'm just saying, I practice it. So you have to hold that energy. You have to hold it. You have to hold it. And that's why I always, 2023 for the rest of the year, I am literally, and I'm after that, sold out on me. My tickets are done. I ain't got no wolf tickets for you.
Yeah, you're all in. So Miss Alicia, real quick, we're gonna transition a little bit from a topic to, this is living powerfully, right? We said half mindset training. We're also going to focus on a little business training. So the next series will be very intentional. We have guest Dr. Casey Winans. We got a video that we've already done with Dr. Monique Jordan. She's amazing. We have more to come as far as the formal business planning. So if you're interested, we'll put the links in the chat, Michelle, if you can. Do you have that? I sent you an email. I'll figure it out myself. We'll make sure you all have this information to. Here, I will copy this and paste this in the chat. This is the Join Us for This Living Powerfully series. It is 6 sessions in May and June. Again, we were partially funded through the WSMA. I'm putting this here in the comments. Hello, Priscilla, if you want to join us. Ooh, I think it's too long. Maybe it doesn't like the characters. Michelle, figure that out when I just put in the chat and make it work.
If I do that, it's going to
take do it bit by bit or something like that. Take the top part, maybe take the link. Maybe it doesn't like the bit.ly. Anyway, so guys, we'll go to wherever you're watching this. You should see this post. We'll make sure it's here. You can get to all the other sessions. But what we're going to do today is we're going to just pivot real quick, and we're going to focus on the mindset training. So it's going to be mindset and business training. We just talked mindset, sorry. Now we're going to talk a little bit about the business training, and this is called Scale Up Your Business and Your Life. Part of the scaling up is in preparation for, one of the things is a scale up pitch competition. Mm-hmm. A scale up pitch competition to the Black MBA. I had made, this is a point of correction as well. I think I said that the first place prize is $50,000. That is still correct. Apparently, the second place is 10,000. I thought it was 50, 30, and 20. It's actually 50, 10, and maybe 7. I got to get that. We'll clarify. If you go to our website, here, let me
And
put
this
that
is
in
for the adults, correct?
www.nbaa.org. So you can go here to the website. It's nationalblackmba.org. And then this is our website, seattleblackmba.org. So we'll make an update to the Seattle site. But if you go to the National Black MBA headquarters site, they're the ones who are hosting it. And you can just type scale up, and you'll see the details there. They'll also be talking about our national conference, which is September, which we're inviting you to. So Alicia and others, adults, there's an adult competition, there's a collegiate competition, and there's also a high school competition where the first place prize is $10,000 for high school students. And Alicia, my beautiful grand niece, was a participant last year. Alicia, I know we had this conversation on a Zoom call, but now we're live on StreamYard. I kind of want you to tell us a little bit about what you shared before about your experience. We brought you into this pitch competition. There was only 2 weeks before it was going to happen, and you did it. You were a little nervous, I think, at one point, but you made it through. You pushed through. Tell us about your experience and why you would recommend it for others. And speak loudly, please.
It was just something I never did before.
Speak loudly, please.
Speak louder.
It was something I never done before, and after I did it, I really liked it. And even if I didn't necessarily win, I feel like it's worth it because you get to put your idea in front of people and you get to see what happens. So I thought it was really nice.
Excellent. I love it. And I asked you before, the concept of living powerfully is when you maybe you have some limiting beliefs. Like you thought maybe you were nervous. There was a little, your mama said there was a baby meltdown at one point.
Listen, we had some meltdowns. We should be transparent.
Well, what were you
Because
thinking at the time?
Like,
so living, the concept of living powerfully says we all have meltdowns. We all have moments, right? But you were able to move past that. So what were you thinking? What was the worst that you were thinking when you were feeling uncomfortable? What were you thinking?
I don't know. I was just really stressed out because I had more stuff to do behind the competition. So that's really what it came from. But then I also was in doubt because I was like, what if no one likes my idea and I just did this for nothing? And after I did it, even though I got something out of it, I just feel like even if I didn't, it was worth it either way because it was like really fun and I got to see what could happen if like someone heard my idea. Because even if you do the competition and you don't win, someone's going to be interested in what you have to say at least, and you're going to get a following in some kind of way. So
I love it. So for you, what you said initially was you were feeling uncomfortable. The limiting belief that you had is you thought no one was going to be interested in your idea, right? And then you realized that was not true, and you came up with a new belief. So a limiting belief is one that will prevent you from walking and doing the work that you could do. That's a limiting belief. It's like no one's gonna want me.
So as a parent, I come in, I threw my cape on. I said, hey, you got this. You're amazing. You're amazing. Remember, you're valuable. I don't mean to say this in a crazy way, but I always tell her that you are so valuable, they will always want you more than they would need anything. Okay? Because your value is very high. And I see that. And I'm your biggest cheerleader. And I'm going to sit right there with you. And I'm going to see you through it. If this is what you want, then we'll do it. But you already have value. You're just sharing it. You're just sharing it. And I remind her of that. Like, her value is never going to be placed in how society views her. Her value is always going to be placed in how she views herself in the society that she's living in. And so this is where the active coaching comes in for parents to speak positive to their children, encourage them. And I wanted her to have the experience because I want her to be able to grow in a different area. I think as a parent and especially as an entrepreneur, your house is like a business. I don't know if people know this, but running a home can be like a business too, because you have to see these little children and you have to know what to say to them to activate them in the direction that you want them to go. So if she's like, Mommy, I don't know. I'm like, no, you can do this. You got this. You got this. You got this. She literally stayed up all night like for what, 3 nights? It was like 3 nights where when I tell you my baby was burning the midnight oil, she was burning the midnight oil and she was getting it done. And I'm gonna tell you, she even shocked me. I knew she had it in her, but I was like, whoa, okay. Well, I see we're maximizing our potential, and I pushed her and encouraged her to do it. And I think as any parent who has children who want to put them in this competition, I think it's worth it. I think it's worth it for your child to get that experience. I think it's worth it because you're going to allow your child to pull that greatness out of them that maybe they didn't even know they had until they actually go through those motions. And it's unlocked the door for her that now she has a new room inside of her that she can explore and build on.
I love it. I love it. So, ladies, I am putting in the chat let's hope this works.
You're forgetting the June.
So when I put the whole thing, for some reason it kind of errors out. So
let me share it.
We will keep it moving. I put it in the private chat. You can figure out how to get it into the.
I tried. It keeps blocking me.
Well, we'll make sure it's there later. This is what live is all about. So, Jonathan, turn your camera on when you're ready. We're going to actually close. Anything else you want to share, Miss Michela or Alicia, related to the concept of, again, inviting others to do something that maybe they have never done before? And speak loudly.
Well, I just think you should invite others because they're gonna miss out sometimes and they won't know until they do it.
Yeah.
I feel like I would have missed out on a lot if I never did it.
So basically limiting her opportunities. I feel like when you're in a state of growing, when you're trying to grow as an entrepreneur or you're trying to grow as an individual, you're going to have to be comfortable being uncomfortable. And you just got to own it. It's okay. And for me to be uncomfortable, I always say, oh my God, my soul is growing. My spirit is growing because I'm uncomfortable. And I'm like, I don't even know. I don't know what to do, but I do it anyway. And then that has changed a lot for me too. What were you saying?
I was going to say also some things are going to happen once and they won't happen in a while. So if you don't
once in a lifetime?
No, once in a lifetime, but it's kind of you'll see something and you won't see it again until like next years and years and years and years. You might as well want to do it now because you don't know when you're going to get the opportunity. Yeah. It doesn't mean that it won't happen again. It just means it's probably going to happen later. And
so basically act now when you get the opportunity.
Okay,
I'm reading it.
Jonathan, as we wrap, I'm gonna try this one more time, y'all. Sorry, as we wrap, I wanted to give Jonathan an opportunity. Let me just see if I can do this one more time. Okay, y'all. Let's see if it works in the chat. Nope, didn't work again. Okay, so Jonathan, any final words as it relates to living powerfully? Again, entrepreneurs, join us on the dates are. Let me just read the dates off for the record. We will add this to the system. It's Mindset Mondays and Thoughtful Thursdays, starting this Monday, which we did last Monday as well. So this Monday, it's going to be this Thursday, the following Monday, the following Thursday. So we have all the dates. We have everything actually laid out for you. And we're asking you to join us. Just find the dates and everything online. I think that's it. Jonathan, what would you like to share about the concept of living powerfully?
Well, I would just like to say this. I agree with what you said about this is not, you don't have to join a specific faith group. And I really want folks to understand this. But each of us, when we come into the game, we have a belief system. Even if it's believing that you are the most powerful person in the world and no one has any authority over you, that's your belief system. But when we come into a world and there are people who have different belief systems, there are going to be people who oppose you. And if you believe that you are chosen to do the right thing and you're doing the right thing, and by the way, doing the right thing in business, I think that's important, incredibly important. I think about things that I did when I was growing up, and if I had done them in business, it could have been catastrophe for folks. But I'm reminded of I saw a video this weekend of a entrepreneur who had done great things, and then he had an epiphany, and he wanted to create national parks in Chile, and he did this in such a way that everyone was opposed to him. They thought they were doing all the right things. They're trying to preserve nature. They're trying to preserve these great parks. They did everything that was right. And then when all of the folks were against him, he had a traveling accident and died. And his wife turned and went to the same people who had said no, and they said yes, because he had all 10 toes in the water. When they put his body in the ground in this country where he didn't have anything other than the land he owned, and he was giving that to the government so they could make a national park, the people came forth and said, oh, we get it now. So his act went beyond his final appearance in the act. So we have to have the vision to know that if we're doing the right thing, it's going to go beyond us.
Living powerfully, y'all. It is about legacy. Is
Yes.
that the word you're thinking?
Exactly.
It's about consistency. So being consistent with whatever you choose to accomplish in life. It's also about thinking differently, right? Thinking outside of the box. We talked today about surrendering. So living powerfully is about being visualizing what you want, staying with it, being consistent, and being positive. Jonathan,
Yes.
thank you for your time today.
My pleasure.
More to come. Miss Michelle, any final words?
Nope.
Well, there you go. Living Powerfully, y'all. We are meeting every Monday and Thursday in June. So Monday at 9 a.m., Thursday at 3 p.m. It will be half mindset training, half business training. We're going to ask you to come with your ideas. We're bringing entrepreneurs on a journey around the business plan, and that this information will be available, obviously, online, live, on demand after the sessions that are live as well. But if you join us live, we'll get to answer your questions. And anyone who participates in all 6 sessions will receive a free business landing page, some free business consulting, full hour of consulting, as well as a product to promote your business through our landing pages. So I'm super excited about that. So that is it, y'all. Thank you so much. Peace and love. More to come. See y'all Mindset Mondays and Thoughtful Thursdays. This is the Living Powerfully experience. Scale up your business and scale up your life. That means think differently, think positive, and know anything you put your mind to, you can accomplish. That's it.